Millionaire returns home to discover his girlfriend's shocking abuse towards their child. A tragedy unfolds. Ryan stared at the familiar landscape of his childhood as he pulled into the driveway of the modest family home that felt trapped in time. Nostalgia hit him harder than he anticipated. The white picket fence, the lazy afternoons spent on the porch, and laughter echoing through the hallways. After a decade of striving to become a self-made millionaire in the corporate world, he yearned for connection, especially with Sarah, his college sweetheart. Yet, as the shadows lengthened around the home, an unsettling silence fell over him, draping the scene in an ominous veil. Stepping inside, the warmth he associated with Sarah's embraces felt tainted now, overshadowed by an unbearable tension. His eyes were drawn to Michael, his 8-year-old son, the boy he had dreamed of nurturing alongside his beloved Sarah. But as Ryan swept him into a hug, a sight froze him in his tracks. The faint bruises decorating his son's arms, each mark a vivid contrast to the joyous boy he remembered. Michael's hesitance in returning affection pierced through Ryan like a nail. Deep down, an instinctual unease clawed at him. Could Sarah really have changed so much? Just as Ryan sought the comfort of memories, a sharp argument erupted from the kitchen. Sarah's voice, usually a melodic whisper, was now laced with desperation and anger, sending shivers down his spine. The sound reverberated off the walls, dismantling any remaining idealization of their once sparkling love. This wasn't the woman he had known. Heart racing, Ryan thrust himself forward, caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Loyalty to the woman he adored, and a fear for the son who needed him now more than ever. The confrontation escalated swiftly, and Ryan discovered a chilling truth. Beneath Sarah's nurturing facade lay a crumbling psyche, brought down by insecurity and addiction. His heart ached for the woman he had loved, yet turbid waves of anger and protectiveness toward his son surged within him. He felt like a spectator in his own life, unraveling secrets that revealed a woman trapped in her own struggle, while his son bore the brunt of her unraveling sanity. With turmoil boiling in his gut, Ryan understood he could no longer overlook what lay beneath the surface of their shared history. The tight-knit community he once called home loomed over him like a specter, whispering judgments that pressed on his shoulders. The dilemma before him deepened. Protecting Michael and confronting Sarah would challenge not just their family, but the town's perception of him as a successful man. How could he reveal the hidden turmoil without succumbing to their scorn? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The internal conflict twisted tighter, each thought a knife digging deeper into his resolve. Ryan grappled with the very foundations of his identity, torn between a long-lost love and an urgent fatherly instinct to shield Michael from pain. The stakes escalated by the day, but just when he began to find a path forward, a gut-wrenching revelation rocked him. A hidden truth about Sarah's past, something that intertwined their lives with a darkness he had never fathomed. As the storm clouds gathered over their family, Ryan felt an unstoppable tide approaching, knowing that the fight to protect his son and seek justice had only begun. How far would he go? And what would it cost him? The answers lay shrouded in uncertainty, echoing through their fractured lives, an impending reckoning lingering just out of reach. Ryan's heart raced as the weight of his revelations settled heavily in his gut. How could the woman he once adored harbor such darkness? He paced the dimly lit living room, grappling with a growing urge to confront Sarah, yet cautious of the emotional landmines strewn throughout their relationship. The woman he had known, vibrant and full of dreams, had morphed into a caricature of her former self, overshadowed by despair and volatility. As he tugged at his thoughts, he found himself framed by the very space that had once cocooned his youthful aspirations. In this house, dreams had felt palpable. Now they hung like ghosts, taunting him with their collapse. The flicker of a light in the hallway pulled his attention, and he turned, catching Michael watching him with wide, searching eyes. The boy's innocence was stark against the chaos that enveloped them, grounding Ryan in this moment of horror. Michael needed him even more than before. What struck Ryan as unforgivable was not just Sarah's actions, but the looming absence of a support system within their family. He realized for the first time that this wasn't just about parental obligations. It was about breaking cycles, confronting demons, and potentially redeeming a love tangled in its own destruction. He had a choice to make, whether to flee from the encroaching darkness or to stand and fight against it. He knelt before Michael, mustering a gentle smile despite the turmoil churning within him. "Buddy, are you okay?" The question felt inadequate in the face of the bruises, the silent struggles they both shared. Michael shrugged, a gesture soaked in loss. Ryan knew he needed to create a safe space, a bubble of honesty between them, shielded from Sarah's unpredictable storms. "Listen, if you ever feel scared or alone, you can tell me, right?" Ryan's voice was steady, grounding both of them in reality. Michael nodded slowly, his eyes shimmering with tentative trust. The distance between father and son started to shrink, sparking a determination in Ryan he had almost forgotten existed. But he also felt a sudden alarm, realizing he needed to take action quickly. Turning his gaze back toward the kitchen, the source of the earlier chaos, Ryan braced himself. He would need to confront Sarah, not just as a husband or a past lover, but as a fierce protector for their son. This would be a battle of truths, and in the back of his mind, he pondered how to navigate the field of their spiraling relationship without igniting an uncontrollable flame. As he approached, Ryan's mind raced. The memories of their college days flashed through his consciousness. Endless late-night talks, dreams of a future bright with possibility. Yet here stood a woman he barely recognized, caught in cycles of pain that now threatened to engulf them all. He inhaled deeply, steeling himself, and stepped into the adjoining room. "Sarah, we need to talk," he stated firmly. The tremor of uncertainty still rippled within him, blending fear with urgency. He was stepping into the lion's den. She might roar, she might crumble. But he couldn't back down now without losing what remained of his resolve. Sarah turned, her eyes wild, a whirlpool of emotion swirling beneath the surface. "What do you mean we need to talk?" There was an edge to her tone, but Ryan recognized the flicker of confusion. Beneath it all, a part of her was still reachable, the part that knew the family they used to be. The confrontation loomed, charged with everything unspoken, a mix of blame, fear, and a desperate plea for understanding. Yet Ryan understood. This was not merely about revealing Sarah's past, it was about restoring their future. Hesitations crumbled as he spoke the truth swirling within his heart. "I want to help you, but you need to want help too." The weight of those words hung between them, potential igniting the air charged with tension. Ryan braced himself for her response, heart racing, knowing that the next moment could very well change the course of their lives forever. What would she choose, despair or redemption? And what would he be willing to sacrifice to save his son? The stakes were rising, and Ryan felt the moment of truth hovering just at the brink of his grasp. Would he have the strength to face what lay ahead? Not just for himself, but for Michael's sake? Ryan stood before Sarah, heart pounding against the confines of his chest. He was no longer merely an observer in this chaotic tapestry of their lives. He was woven tighter into it than ever, pushed forward by duty and an overwhelming sense of love for Michael. The weight of vulnerability radiated from Sarah as she shifted her gaze, the conflict between anger and despair playing out in her features. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice trembling, an echo of the girl he had once known. I want to understand, Ryan replied, his voice steady but laced with urgency. What happened to you? What took you from the dreamer I fell in love with to... He hesitated, searching for the right word. This? Her eyes flashed fury, but beneath it lay a flicker of something deeper, pain. You don't get it, do you? You've been gone. You had your life, your career. I was here, alone, fighting. Everything's changed. Her accusations shot through him, each word a painful reminder of the distance that had grown between them. But instead of recoiling, he stood his ground, refusing to let her anger deflect the honesty they desperately needed. I want to know how to help, Sarah. But you have to let me in. For a moment, silence enveloped them. Sarah's defenses softened, revealing a shadow of vulnerability that tugged at Ryan's heart. He had always recognized the resilience in her spirit, and now, beneath the chaos, it flickered dimly. I didn't want this life, she whispered, dropping her gaze. I wanted what we had, what you had. I wanted to make a difference, but I feel stuck, Ryan. It's like I'm drowning every day. The truth hung between them, stark and raw. Ryan felt a surge of empathy, understanding where they had lost their way. This wasn't merely about Sarah's struggles. It was about a failed connection, misunderstandings, and the silent battles they had both fought alone. I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere, he said softly. We're in this together, remember? He saw her stiffen, but pushed on. We can't let this destroy us, not for Michael's sake or for our own. The room reverberated with the weight of possibility. Ryan took a step closer, wanting to bridge the emotional chasm separating them. I know I can't fix everything overnight, but I want us to try. We've both built barriers, but we can break them down. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, conflict battling with hope. And what if I can't change? What if I'm too far gone? Ryan felt a familiar knot of doubt creeping in, but fought it back. We all have the capacity for change. Trust me on this. I've been lost too, Sarah, but we have a choice. Focusing on Michael can bring us together again, or we can let this destroy us. Your choice. For a fleeting moment, her guard seemed to dissolve. The ache for connection resurfaced within him, a yearning for a family whole again. But with it came the reality of Sarah's pain, and the possibility that she might choose to stay mired in darkness. Just as Ryan opened his mouth to draw her further into conversation, the piercing sound of Michael's small voice floated in from the other room. Dad? Is everything okay? Ryan's heart dropped. The weight of familial responsibility surged through him. Could he shield Michael from the storm brewing between them? Everything's okay, buddy, he called back, his voice steadier than he felt. He turned back to Sarah, catching her gaze, desperate for reassurance, a sign that they could find their way back to each other, that this wasn't the end. Yet as he met her eyes, he saw a flicker of defiance and fear, and doubts resurfaced. Could they truly make it through this? If Sarah was unwilling to confront her darkness, what hope did they have for the future? The silence settled again, thick and heavy, each heartbeat echoing the unspoken choice before them. Would perseverance prevail, or would despair claim its final hold? With the moment hanging delicately in the air, Ryan realized one thing. The battle wasn't just for Michael, but for Sarah too. The question remained, was he strong enough to face what lay beyond this confrontation, or would he find himself ensnared by the very shadows he sought to dispel? The stakes were higher than he had anticipated. He had to make a decision, one that could either forge their path forward or sever their tenuous connections. As he met Sarah's gaze once more, the room closed in around them, amplifying their shared urgency. In that charged silence, Ryan felt the magnitude of what lay ahead, knowing one thing for certain. The dark truths had only begun to surface. What lay beneath could either heal them or shatter them completely. He had to face it head-on before it was too late. Ryan's determination coiled like a spring as he absorbed the weight of the moment. No longer could he ignore the turmoil between them, nor the implications it had on Michael's fragile world. He stepped back, taking a breath to collect his thoughts. Each second felt like an eternity as he deciphered the tangled web of emotions. "Sarah," he said, his voice cutting through the oppressive silence. "If you feel trapped, then let's confront that. Together." He noticed her reaction, a tightening of her jaw, an instinctive retreat. Her walls re-established themselves, formidable and resolute. "Ryan, you don't understand," she replied, a hint of desperation creeping into her tone. "Every day feels like a battle I'm losing. I can't drag you into this. You deserve better." Her words, although meant to shield him, sliced deeper than intended, revealing a stark fear of inadequacy. "Is it what you think I deserve?" Ryan challenged, feeling an ember of frustration ignite within him. "Because from where I stand, being true to each other is better than inviting silence. Turning away won't help you, or me, or Michael." His heart raced as he fought for clarity amidst the swirling chaos in her eyes. "I can barely keep my head above water," she confessed, her voice breaking slightly. "I don't even know who I am anymore. What do you see in me, Ryan?" In that moment, clarity hit him like a lightning bolt. She wasn't merely hiding from the exterior world, she was lost within herself. Sarah needed guidance, not just a lifeline. They had shared a past filled with dreams and aspirations, yet now it felt more like a distant memory. It was time to revisit the foundation of who they had been. "I see a woman with fire," he said gently, not breaking eye contact. "You were someone who inspired change, someone who fought for your beliefs. I fell in love with that strength. You can access it again, Sarah, if you let me help." A flicker of hope danced in her expression, but it was quickly overshadowed by uncertainty. "What if I can't? What if I've lost it forever?" "You haven't lost it." Ryan took a small step forward, maintaining the connection. "We're all capable of change. I've learned that through my own battles. You're not alone, and you don't have to fight in isolation. You do matter." As her defenses softened again, he pushed further. "Let's break down those walls. Start by sharing with me. What barriers are holding you back? Identify them. We'll work through this, one step at a time." The words felt like an essential commitment, grounded in vulnerability. He could sense the tension in her body slowly slackening, inch by inch. "Do you really mean that?" she asked quietly, almost fearfully. "I do," he confirmed with unyielding resolve. "But trust isn't easy. It's built through actions and honesty over time. Let's begin with the truths you've been avoiding. Those truths could hold the key to our way back." The air shifted distinctly as he spoke. Challenges whispered their way through the depths of Sarah's guarded heart. Ryan couldn't shake his own lingering doubts, but he realized he needed to be steadfast. This moment was their turning point, an opportunity that might not present itself again. Just then, Michael's voice called through the doorway again, breaking the intense atmosphere. "Dad, are you coming?" Ryan's focus shifted momentarily, instinctively protective. "I'm right here, buddy," he answered, feeling a newfound sense of urgency. The purity of Michael's presence was a beacon against the shadows, threatening to consume them both. Ryan turned back to Sarah, holding her gaze as if seeking to etch the conviction into her spirit. "Let's not leave the boy in uncertainty. We step forward, together, for him." Yet as she took a breath, the tension returned. Ryan sensed her returning reservations. Was she truly prepared to confront her demons? As Sarah raised her chin, determination mingled with fear in the depths of her eyes. "I'll try, Ryan," she said slowly, almost reverently, "but I can't promise anything. Trying is all we need." But beneath their hopeful exchange, a lingering dread settled on Ryan's heart. Would trying be enough? Too many variables loomed ahead, and one misstep could unravel their nascent resolve. The stakes felt insurmountable, the path forward rife with uncertainty. Ryan braced himself for revelations that were bound to emerge, vividly aware that progress was a double-edged sword. What truths might surface in their pursuit of healing, and would they be strong enough to face them? He held his breath, poised at the precipice of change, knowing this was just the beginning of their battle. Deep within, a chilling question echoed. Could their confrontation with the shadows themselves ignite the very light they needed to thrive? Ryan stepped into the living room, where Michael's eager face illuminated the somber atmosphere. The child's innocence rekindled a flicker of hope within him, yet the underlying tension remained. He needed to focus. This was about more than just Sarah and him. It was about crafting a safe world for Michael, a world devoid of shadows. "Hey, buddy," Ryan greeted, crouching to meet his son's sparkling eyes. "Did you finish your homework?" Michael nodded vigorously, his enthusiasm contagious. "I did. Can we read a story together, Dad?" "Of course we can." Ryan's heart swelled at the request. This was the simplicity he craved, the moments that grounded him in what truly mattered. He settled on the floor with Michael, but even as they immersed themselves in the story, his mind drifted to Sarah. He could feel the reverberation of their earlier conversation playing in his head. Would she truly commit to the journey ahead? After finishing the book, Ryan released a deep breath. "Let's grab a snack. How does that sound?" "Super. Can we have peanut butter and jelly?" "Absolutely." He ushered Michael toward the kitchen, but dread lingered at the back of his mind, as if it had latched onto him like a shadow. As they prepared the snacks, the domesticity of the moment soothed Ryan. Yet, his thoughts returned to Sarah. The vulnerability she had shown was both empowering and terrifying. It raised a question within him. Was he prepared for the consequences of what they were embarking on together? Each revelation could unearth painful truths. Michael broke through his reverie, dragging him back to the now. "Dad?" Ryan looked down, meeting his son's curious gaze. "Yeah? Are you and Miss Sarah going to make things better?" Ryan hesitated, grappling with the weight of his son's question. "We're trying to figure things out. It might take some time, but you know what? Trying is the first step." Michael's understanding gaze was like a balm. "I think that's good. Trying is important." "Exactly." Ryan felt a spark of pride swell within him. If they could impart even this small conviction to Michael, it would be a victory. He envisioned a framework for Michael's growth, one that would teach resilience and the value of perseverance. In the ensuing hours, Ryan carved out precious memories. They played games, enjoyed meals, and crafted jokes. Yet between those joyful moments, the tension with Sarah simmered. As night drew near, he sent Michael to his room, a process imbued with the weight of unspoken words that loomed in the air. When Ryan returned to the living room, Sarah was still there, poised in silence. She had taken a seat on the couch, staring blankly at the floor. Her vulnerability returned with a vengeance, and Ryan felt his own emotions tipping, still raw and undigested. The conversation from earlier settled thickly between them. "Sarah," he said softly, testing the waters, "we need to talk." She lifted her gaze, revealing that familiar flicker of fear intertwined with hope. "I know," she whispered. I'm scared, Ryan. What if I can't face what's inside?" "Then we'll do it together." His voice steadied, gaining assurance. "Facing it may feel overwhelming, I get that. But avoiding it will only give our fears more power." She nodded hesitantly, the tension visibly creeping up once more. Ryan could see the shifting battles within her, igniting the protective instincts that were becoming as intuitive as breathing. But beneath that surface matter of logistics and plans, another thought loomed. The need to confront what lies outside the threshold of personal conflict. Other people. External circumstances that could further complicate their journey. What if Sarah's struggles extended beyond herself? Before he could question her further, the doorbell rang, slicing through the night. Ryan shared a cautious glance with Sarah. "Do you want me to get it?" For a moment, uncertainty clouded her features. Then, steeling herself, she said, "Yes, but please be careful." With a nod, Ryan approached the door, his heart racing. This unwelcome visitor could interfere with their plans. Could it be a reminder of the past they were attempting to escape? What awaited him when he opened that door could hold the power to shatter the fragile progress they had just begun, or kickstart a confrontation that was long overdue. With a steadying breath, he turned the knob. And in that moment of decision, Ryan braced himself, sentenced to face yet another part of the tangled web that held their lives hostage. Ryan opened the door, anticipation crashing over him like a wave. The sudden chill in the air enveloped him, yet he felt a deeper shiver coursing through his veins. There stood a figure from his past. Patrick, a former colleague and a man who had carried shadows of his own. "Ryan," Patrick uttered, eyes darting around as if searching for a safe harbor. "I need to talk to you. It's urgent." "What are you doing here?" Ryan's voice tightened. The last thing he needed was a confrontation with someone who had the potential to dig up old grievances. "Can I come in?" Patrick looked anxious, his demeanor contrasting sharply with the casual bravado Ryan once remembered. This wasn't the confident negotiator he knew. This was a man cornered by precarious decisions. "Sure." Ryan stepped back, letting him in. The moment he closed the door, all the tension in the room escalated. He glanced at Sarah, who remained seated, visibly apprehensive. "Ryan, Let's cut to the chase," Ryan interjected, needing to regain control. "What's going on?" "I didn't know how else to reach out," Patrick began, his voice trembling slightly. "But I've been back in town for a few days. Heard some things about Sarah." The revelation slapped Ryan across the face. "What do you mean? What have you heard?" "It's not good. I'm talking about her well-being." Patrick shifted his gaze, wobbling on his feet like a man carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. "I think she might be in trouble, Ryan." Something within Ryan twisted sharply. He crossed his arms, feeling defensive. "What are you implying? Sarah is—" "Look, I know this sounds crazy, but I didn't want to believe what I'd heard until I saw her myself. But there's word going around. People are saying she's been struggling with more than just her past." Ryan felt his stomach drop. Flickers of words from previous conversations with Sarah danced through his mind. Moments she had alluded to her demons, moments he had brushed aside for the sake of peace. He needed more than vague accusations. "What exactly are you saying? Is she in danger?" Patrick took a measured breath. "I can't pinpoint everything, but if she's struggling with addiction or abuse—" "Stop!" Ryan barked, cutting through the noise. The idea felt like a knife twisting in his gut. He couldn't process the thought of Sarah being that vulnerable. Ryan met Sarah's gaze and saw it mirrored in her eyes, a mix of fear, resolve, and an unspoken acknowledgement. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Sarah hesitated, the moment stretching unbearably long. "Ryan, he can't just barge in here and spread rumors." She gathered her defenses. "You don't know what he's implying." "But I do know you." Ryan's voice lifted, revealing his inner turmoil. "I see the pain you carry. Are you facing this alone? Is it too much?" Tears welled in Sarah's eyes, and Ryan found himself caught between fury and sorrow. If her struggles had drawn unwanted attention, how could they possibly confront their shared issues? The world outside had already begun to creep into their sanctuary. "Patrick, I don't need you here stirring the pot," Ryan said dismissively, though doubt wove its way into his heart. "Ryan, I'm here to help, Patrick insisted, stepping closer with an earnestness that ignited an unsettling awareness. You need to look after her. She can't face the truth without support, without you understanding what it could mean for Michael. At the mention of Michael, Ryan felt a jolt. Michael, their son. Everything he had fought for, to provide him with a life free from their past mistakes. If Sarah's issues were more profound, their fragile foundation could shatter before his eyes. So what do we do? Ryan asked, turning back to Sarah, eyes demanding answers. We can't ignore this. If there's something else, we have to fight it together. Facing the truth seemed as daunting as ever, but Ryan realized they were teetering on the brink of a decision that could redefine everything. Patrick's intrusion had peeled back a layer, exposing the fears he'd tried to mask. But what would it mean for Michael? Would revealing secrets unite them or tear them apart? Ryan felt the pulsating tension of unanswered questions hovering, waiting for a choice that would shift their lives irrevocably, leaving him questioning how much he was truly willing to fight for. The door behind him cracked open to a terrifying future waiting just beyond the threshold. The atmosphere in the room shifted as Ryan grappled with the revelations swirling around him. Time felt stagnant, each passing second weighing heavily on his heart as fragments of his past collided with the urgency of the present. He directed his focus to Sarah, her eyes still glimmering with unshed tears and fear. It was as though a wall had been erected between them, built from unacknowledged pain. Sarah, he urged softly, stepping closer. If there's something you're dealing with, we need to face it, together. I can't protect Michael if I don't understand what's really happening. Her breath hitched. The fight inside her flickered momentarily, a spark of desperation clashing with the instinct to shield herself from the truth. Ryan's stomach churned as he realized how isolated she must feel, trapped within her own turmoil. Do you even know how to help? She whispered, vulnerability coloring her tone. The question rolled around in Ryan's mind like a heavy stone. He wanted to believe he could save her, that his assurances could quell her fears, but the uncertainty gnawed at him. Help comes with honesty, he replied, a steel resolve tightening in his voice. If it's addiction, then we fight it, together. If it's something else... He trailed off, unwilling to complete the thought. Could he bear the weight of knowing the full extent of her struggles? Patrick, still lingering in the backdrop, was quietly observing. I know it's not easy, Ryan continued, his eyes focusing back on Sarah. But you don't have to carry this alone anymore. We can figure this out. As silence wrapped them like a thick fog, Ryan felt the tension swell and pulse around him. He couldn't shake the implications of Patrick's words. Had Michael unknowingly witnessed something darker, something he was too young to understand? The very notion twisted inside him, igniting an instinct ripe with protective fervor. And if it's not just you? He ventured, his voice lower, almost a whisper. What if it extends beyond you to something impacting Michael directly? The fear in Sarah's eyes was palpable as she searched for words. When she finally replied, it was barely audible. I've tried to shield him, but I can't stand much longer. With this admission, the dam within Ryan broke open. Frustration flared up. How long have you been suffering? How long has this been going on? Long enough, she replied, voice shaking. While the admission hung heavily, Ryan felt an insidious mixture of panic and determination fueling him. It was more than just about support. He needed a plan. He needed to take charge and assess the battlefield where his family's future was at stake. Okay, he breathed, closing his eyes momentarily to gather thoughts. He was no stranger to turmoil, yet this felt distinctly different. The stakes were higher than any business deal or negotiation he'd ever encountered. Here's what we'll do. We'll both talk to someone, a professional who can help guide us. I'll be with you every step of the way. Her gaze softened a fraction, but uncertainties remained etched across her features. "Ryan," she started, hesitating as if she couldn't fully articulate the gravity of such a step. "Step by step, don't rush. But we have to decide now," he urged, channeling his frustration into clarity. "This can't wait. Our family is standing on fragile ground, and every hour we ignore this, we risk Michael's safety and our own chance for recovery." A soft rustling noise echoed through the fading tension as Patrick unexpectedly chimed in. "I can help with that," he offered, and his tone came across as a strange mix of bravado and transparency that piqued Ryan's interest. "Why should I trust you?" Ryan shot back instinctively, the fierceness in his voice returning. Patrick's shoulders slumped as he replied, "Because I've been there too, and I understand what it's like to bury pain. I'm here not just to expose that pain, but to help face it." Ryan weighed Patrick's words, knowing the complexities of trust in their shared history. Could he afford to let Patrick in? He needed to make a choice that could shape their next steps irrevocably. The prospect of healing outweighed the past's grievances, but only if he acted decisively. As darkness settled outside, reflections of the battles ahead flickered, like the distant lights from neighbors' homes. The thought of confronting their inner demons loomed like an impending storm on the horizon, and Ryan's pulse quickened with resolve. The act of reaching out to others was daunting, almost alien after years of solitude. But for Sarah, for Michael, and for the future he envisioned, it was a risk he had to seize. Ryan inhaled deeply, shifting his attention toward Sarah. Could she muster the strength needed for their next move? With everything at stake, uncertainty wrapped its fingers around him while determination pushed him forward. Together. No turning back, he stated firmly, his resolve crystallizing amidst the chaos. But would Sarah be ready to defy her own fears? Would they truly unravel the truth lurking behind their walls? Ryan felt the pull between hope and dread clawing at his insides, with a powerful question lingering in the air. What lies beyond their fragile truth? Ryan stood on the brink of an unsettling precipice, where the shadows of uncertainty mingled with the flickering flame of hope. He could feel the weight of Sarah's despair weighing on him, almost tangibly pressing against his chest. With every breath he took, he struggled to shake off the gnawing doubt that clouded his thoughts. Could he truly lead her toward the light, or was he just another part of a cycle destined to repeat itself? "I'll make the call," he announced, his resolve crystallizing as he reached for his phone. The act of seeking help felt monumental, as if he were tossing a lifeline into turbulent waters. His heart raced as he dialed the number for a family therapist, each ring echoing the hesitation that thrummed through his veins. "Hello," a calm voice answered, and Ryan felt a momentary flicker of anxiety. This was the touchstone of change he desperately sought. "I'd like to schedule an appointment," he said, emphasizing clarity over uncertainty. The voice on the other end responded with professionalism, offering availability that felt both inviting and daunting. As he hung up, the silence in the room thrummed with urgency. His resolve flickered as he glanced at Sarah, whose emotions swayed between gratitude and fear. "We've taken the first step," he said, trying to anchor them both in a shared sense of purpose. "I don't know if I can do this," her voice trembled, a familiar vulnerability creeping in like a shadow. "Take it one day at a time," Ryan reassured, stepping closer, forcing their gazes to lock. "This isn't just about today. This is about us forging a new future. You deserve that, Sarah, and so does Michael." His voice resonated with conviction, but inside he questioned if his own resolve would hold in the face of the storm that loomed. He thought back to the negotiations he had navigated in his career, each one a complex tapestry of need and strategy. This felt greater, more intricate. The stakes were no longer confined to profit margins, but rather stretched to encompass the emotional and psychological safety of his family. He recognized that while his business acumen guided him in many ways, this personal battle required an entirely new approach, one rooted in empathy, patience, and unwavering determination. Patrick cleared his throat, interrupting Ryan's thoughts. I can come with you too, he offered, glancing cautiously between them. I know this stuff well. It helped me leave my past behind. Ryan regarded Patrick with keen interest. His candidness was refreshing in this web of uncertainty, yet dread bubbled beneath the surface. Could Patrick truly help them, or was he simply a reflection of Ryan's own struggles? Why do you want to help us? Ryan challenged, sensing the core of his distrust rising again. What's in it for you? Nothing, Patrick replied, sincerity blanketing the air. I just don't want you to go through what I did. I don't want you to end up lost. The ache in Ryan's chest softened at the raw honesty of Patrick's response. Slowly, an understanding began to build. They were all navigating their own uncharted territories, and perhaps it wasn't just Sarah who needed to change her outlook. Ryan, too, had to embrace vulnerability. Taking a deep breath, Ryan sensed something shifting within him. He could feel small threads of resilience growing as he united with Sarah in their shared mission. Then you'll come with us. We're stronger together. This is about breaking down walls, not building new ones. As they solidified their plan, Ryan felt a surge of empowerment wash over him. For the first time, he recognized that personal depth was not a hindrance, but a prerequisite for navigating the complexity of their condition. Time passed in a tenuous blur, and with each minute that ticked by, Ryan felt as though he was shedding layers of fear and uncertainty. His past, which had once defined him, began to surface not as chains, but as a collection of lessons learned. Yet, just beneath the surface of this hopeful transformation lay a question. Could he truly trust the steps that lay ahead, knowing that confronting their past could unearth monsters long kept at bay? In that unsteady mix of hope and dread, a new determination took root within him. It was time to face not just the challenges at hand, but the introspection that came with it. The unspoken challenge brewed like a storm off the coast. Ryan's resolve hardened as he met Sarah's gaze once more. With their hands clasped tightly, they were poised for an arduous journey beyond the fragile truths they'd clung to for so long. But where would this voyage lead them in the dark? As the clock ticked closer to their meeting with a therapist, Ryan couldn't help but wonder what the consequences of unmasking their hidden truths would reveal. Would they find release in their vulnerability? Or would it unravel the very fabric of their familial bond? Ryan sat in the car, fingers drumming nervously against the leather steering wheel. The drive to the therapist's office felt surreal, as if he were navigating a labyrinth of uncertainty and fear. Each passing second heightened his anxiety, drawing him deeper into a vortex of what-ifs. He glanced at Sarah, her reflection visible in the rearview mirror, a portrait of anticipation mingled with dread. "Are you ready?" he asked, surprised by the tremor in his own voice. "Do I have a choice?" She replied softly, her eyes staring out the window, fixated on the world outside. Ryan sensed the weight of her response, the layers of resignation she wore like armor against her own vulnerability. "Sometimes it feels that way," he murmured, understanding the unspoken burden they both carried. This wasn't merely about finding answers. It was about dismantling years of fear. His mind raced with images from his past. Shattered trust, deceit, quiet isolation. Would he be able to support Sarah in unraveling her pain without losing himself in the process? As they approached the office, a wave of resolve washed over him. It was time to face their fears, to dig into the uncomfortable truths they had both avoided for so long. He parked and took a deep breath, steadying himself against the emotional storm brewing inside him. Walking into the clinic, a sense of unfamiliarity pressed against him. Sterile walls decorated with abstract art failed to soothe his racing heart. The measured tones of voices floated in the air, and he felt the electric current of hope and anxiety intertwine. "Do you want me to go in first?" he offered as they stood by the door, his protective instinct kicking in. But Sarah shook her head. "No, we need to do this together," she said, and Ryan admired the determination shining through her uncertainty. Entering the room, Ryan was struck by the therapist's warm demeanor. Dr. Stevens welcomed them with a gentle smile, eyes kind, yet penetrating. "Let's start simple," she said, gesturing for them to sit. "What brings you both here today?" Ryan felt Sarah's hand shift on her lap, but he spoke first, the words tumbling out with an urgency he hadn't anticipated. "We're here to understand the issues affecting our family. I want to help my girlfriend, Sarah, and our son. We need support." The slip of his voice surprised him. He hadn't realized how easily he could put words to their collective pain until now. Dr. Stevens nodded expectantly, inviting them to dig deeper. Ryan felt a flicker of self-awareness. He realized he wasn't just here as a caretaker, but as a participant in the healing. This revelation hung in the air like a taut string waiting to snap. As the session progressed, Ryan found himself grappling with emotions buried deep under layers of denial. Each question from Dr. Stevens forced him to confront uncomfortable truths. The therapist delicately prodded, inviting them to share their feelings about the painful experiences that had shaped them. Sarah's eyes glistened with tears as she recounted fragments of her past, the struggles, the isolation, the dark corners where fear thrived. Ryan listened intently, aware of his role not just as a partner, but as a pillar of support, offering validation for her wounds while questioning how those same events had colored his perspective. The air thickened with unspoken emotions as Ryan wrestled with his own story. Unmasking his anxieties felt like peeling away layers of protective skin, exposing the raw, vulnerable core beneath. I sometimes feel helpless," he confessed, voice faltering. "I want to protect Sarah and Michael, but I'm terrified of losing them." The truth of his statement hung heavily in the air, a palpable reminder of the stakes involved. He'd spent years learning to negotiate in the corporate world. Yet here he found the stakes were personal, and the consequences of failure felt far more pronounced. Could this admission unlock something profound, or would it only deepen the chasms of their shared despair? The session concluded, but left an echo of unresolved tension that loomed larger as they made their way back to the car. As Ryan settled in behind the wheel, he couldn't shake the feeling that they had merely scratched the surface of something monumental. With both of them lost in thought, a question lingered unspoken, haunting. Would digging deeper into their past bring liberation? Or would it unearth the very monsters they sought to vanquish? As the car slid into motion, Ryan steered toward an uncertain path, committed to uncovering the truth cloaked in shadows. But as he navigated the familiar streets, he knew the real journey was only just beginning, stirring in him a newfound resolve. What hidden truths awaited them as they proceeded down this path of introspection and discovery? The weeks that followed that pivotal first session felt like a transformation spell. Glimmers of hope began to weave themselves into Ryan and Sarah's lives, each step a blend of uncertainty and strength. Their routine became punctuated by meetings with Dr. Stevens, each dialogue peeling back layers of fear, ignorance, and suppressed pain. Ryan realized that confronting their demons head-on was no longer a battle, but a necessary pilgrimage for both Sarah and him. Ryan's resolve hardened further with each session. He actively engaged in discussions, sharing his vulnerabilities that had once felt like burdens. Speaking about his own struggles made him feel exposed yet liberated. No longer was he merely stroking old wounds. He was reigniting the spark of resilience that had laid dormant within him. On a sun-soaked Saturday, Ryan found himself standing in front of his family's modest home, a place where shadows had once loomed large. He observed the white picket fence, its paint chipped from the winding years, yet vibrant despite the weathering. The familiar nostalgia washed over him as he imagined a safe space, free of screams and tears, where Michael could flourish without shadows darkening his door. Steeling himself, Ryan called out to Michael, who bounded out of the house with laughter that rang like a melody through the sunlit garden. "Dad, can we play catch?" Michael's enthusiasm resonated with Ryan, illuminating the path for the familial bond they were slowly rebuilding. "Absolutely," Ryan replied, grabbing the baseball and glove. As they tossed the ball back and forth, Ryan observed the ease with which Michael now held his gaze. The hesitant child was transforming into a bold boy, emboldened by their new family dynamics. Between laughter and game interruptions, Ryan's phone pinged. It was a message from Sarah, affirming her intent to stay committed to their journey of recovery. "I'm proud of you, and I want us to keep moving forward." The words lit up his heart, grounded him in their shared purpose to rebuild against all odds. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in warm oranges and gentle pinks, Ryan felt the weight of gratitude shift inside him. He recalled his earlier self, the one burdened by shadows of fear and inadequacy. That man had felt lost and estranged. Now, he stood firmly in the present, determined, capable, and hopeful. "Dad, I'm gonna throw the ball to you now," Michael shouted, his voice resonating with sturdy confidence. As Ryan positioned himself, the moment spoke volumes. The carefree laughter, the thrill of connection, the shared experience of conquering small yet critical battles. With each throw, Ryan felt a surge of validation. He was becoming the father he aspired to be, not defined just by his past failures, but by the determined intention to sculpt a brighter future. Later that evening, Ryan sat at the dining table, a humble spread of their favorite meal in front of him. Michael chattered incessantly about school, his friends, the dreams he had for the future. Ryan felt an overwhelming swell of pride. Sarah entered, her eyes catching his, a shared acknowledgement of the journey ahead reflected in her glance. "Are you ready?" she whispered, and Ryan responded with a knowing nod. Despite the uncertainties looming like shadows that had once defined their history, he now felt armed with the strength of their joint effort. Would it be easy? Unlikely. But they were both standing together, willing to navigate this tumultuous path. As they sat, preparing to share their meal, Ryan felt solid confidence crystallizing within him. He had learned to protect his family from external pressures or former adversities, but, more importantly, he had conquered the internal fears that once threatened to fragment their unity. Tonight, he understood that the real achievement was not merely the effort to shield Michael, but instead fostering an environment where both parents could acknowledge their struggles and triumph collaboratively. Having weathered the storm, the moments he had missed during his time away, those tiny treasures of laughter and connection, rounded out the core of familial strength. "Let's make the best of this," he thought, feeling a wellspring of gratitude for both Michael and Sarah, each embodying resilience that inspired him to rise together. The night unfolded effortlessly as stories resurfaced amid shared laughter, tranquility evolving in the flickering candlelight guiding their newfound path. Ryan knew the transformations they had undertaken were profound. They were no longer afraid to reveal their truths, no longer shackled by past mistakes. The scars they carried became less than a weight. They evolved into symbols of redemption. In the following months, the ripples of their progress began to echo outward, garnering respect from those around them. Both Sarah and Ryan took concrete steps toward growth, attending support groups, gaining confidence in their roles, and focusing on Michael's emotional safety. The shadows that once seemed insurmountable shrank in the face of their collective commitment. Upon receiving a proud message from his employer about a promotion, Ryan felt the validation he had yearned for, not merely as a businessman, but as a father. This recognition fueled his determination to continue honing his role within his family. The confident man envisioned guiding Michael through the complexities of life. One quiet evening, Ryan knelt before Michael, looking him in the eyes. "I'm here for you, and I'll always be, no matter what." In that exchange, Ryan witnessed clarity, the strength of familial connection grounded in truth and unwavering love. As they embraced, Ryan realized that their journey wasn't just about enduring challenges. It was an exploration, an affirmation of resilience and discovery. Standing at the precipice of their familial future, hearts woven tighter than ever, he acknowledged one undeniable truth: they had triumphed. With the darkness pushed aside and strength reclaimed, Ryan envisioned a clear path ahead, a testament to growth, to overcoming, and to embrace a life dedicated to authenticity and connection. Now, Amidst their healing, he felt a strong calling to share their journey, to inspire others grappling with their demons, to encourage them to embrace vulnerability as a strength, to showcase how they could achieve transformation through courage and commitment. Ryan glanced at the screen on his phone, a social media platform. The words began to form in his mind, a powerful message that beckoned, demanding action. Subscribe immediately to our journey. This is the moment we can inspire others. Leave a like to shed light on the algorithm, helping those battling in silence. Share your thoughts and theories about transformation in the comments. And don't wait another second. Share this with 5 friends who need to see how hope can conquer despair. Be a part of our story and help us light the way for others. The call surged deep, an inconceivable urge to help others find their way, empowering them to reclaim light. Together, he, Sarah, and Michael stood as living proof of the persistent possibility of change. A story just waiting to be told.